Hello friends. So in this lesson, we'll talk about the interaction between operator and part. So in previous lesson, we performed a gauge INR study to look at different sources of variation collected from the PCBA viewer measurement tool system. So let's continue the graphical analysis of the results by evaluating the interaction between the operator and the part being measured. To do this, we'll plot the mean of the four measurements taken by each operator for each of the troubles. This will show us how the operators differ in their measurements. Remember, some variation is always present in our past. Ideally, our measurement system would be able to detect any differences in parts collected from the process. If the measurement system itself has little error, then all operators should consistently obtain similar results when measuring the same parts. As a result, the lines and points on the graph are very close or overlap. So let's look at the operator by part graph more closely for data collected from the PCBI viewer measurement tool. So this graph is related to the H-bar chart we discussed in the previous lesson. If we overlay the results for each operator on the same scale, we can see the relationship. The operator by part graph provides a visual representation of operator differences for each part, that is, the amount of producibility error. If all of the operators were consistent in their measurements, the lines would overlap. So does this graph suggest any differences among operators? We can see here operator one's measurements operator one's measurement are lower than almost all of the other operators' measurements. Also, uh, operator 3 or measurements are different from almost all of the others or measurements. And operator one's average measurement for each circuit board is lower than other operator measurements for all but the 10th board. This tells us that the differences are independent of the part being measured. Note that without knowing the true measurement, we cannot conclude whether operator 1 is measuring parts correctly. If we did have a reference value, we could conduct a gauge linearity and bias study, which we'll learn about in a later lesson. So now let's look at the results from the operator 3. In most cases, the values from operator 3 are different from other operators. Sometimes operator 3 has measurements that are smaller than, equal to, or larger than those of the other operators. So such a pattern indicates an operator by part interaction, possibly the result of a poor operating or operator training. Because there is an operator by part interaction with the PCBA viewer measurement system, so it's difficult to detect real differences among circuit boards. Ideally, the measurement system would be able to detect these differences, and all operators would consistently obtain similar results when measuring the same paths. So let's review. In this lesson, we'll use the interaction between operator and path graph to evaluate the degree of difference among operators, that is, the amount of reproducibility error. And next, we'll look at the comparative plots for a different look at variation. And thank you for listening.